Hello and welcome to the September 14th Virginia Opioid Abatement Authority Abatement Academy. My name is Jennifer Nelson, Virginia Institute of Government Assistant Director for Membership and Engagement. The Virginia Institute of Government is a leadership development and community engagement arm of the Weldon Cooper Center for Public Service at the University of Virginia. Through our research, leadership development programs, and local government engagement initiatives, we continue to work towards our vision of good governance, equity, and resilience in every Virginia community. VIG offers leadership development through SEI and LEAD, local government equity clinics, certification for treasurers and commissioners of the revenue, and customized training programs. State agencies and local governments can access a range of consultation and support services to build more resilient organizations. We have a team of seasoned public sector leaders and subject matter experts ready and available to facilitate boards of supervisors, city and town councils, leadership teams, strategic planning retreats, and other related events. Today, VIG is glad to partner with the Opioid Abatement Authority for the Abatement Academy series, presented every second and fourth Thursday through 2023. Here are a few housekeeping notes. This session will be recorded and posted on Weldon Cooper Center for Public Service YouTube channel soon. If you have any questions, please type them in the chat and I will ask them for you. Again, thanks for taking the time to join us today for this Abatement Academy session. Now I'm happy to turn things over to Tony McDowell, the Authority's Executive Director. Tony?
Thank you, Jennifer, and welcome everyone. It's my pleasure to introduce our guest speakers today, Justin Savoy and Melissa Mariner. Justin is a program coordinator for Chesterfield Recovery Academy, and he came to Chesterfield with more than 13 years of experience between education and mental health. His experience includes working as a program manager of a substance use disorder program in North Carolina across a 6-county catchment area. He then transitioned to education, where he was a career and technical education teacher, instructional management coordinator, and special populations coordinator. In 2016, he came to Virginia to be a director of career technical education with Westmoreland County Schools. On July 25th, Mr. Savoy began his tenure with Chesterfield County Public Schools and looks forward to creating a positive impact on the community, building awareness for adolescent substance use and treatment, and creating a support network for Region 1 schools. Melissa Mariner is a senior clinician who graduated with a bachelor's degree from the College of William & Mary and a master's in art therapy and counseling from Eastern Virginia Medical School. She brings 12 years of mental health experience to the Chesterfield Recovery Academy with expertise in substance use treatment, school-based therapy, community mental health, grief counseling, and case management services. Melissa obtained certification as a pet partners therapy animal team with her dog Letty. Together, they work with students at school and volunteer in the community. Melissa is a licensed professional counselor and a board-certified art therapist. So Justin, Melissa, it's a real pleasure and an honor to have you with us today. We appreciate you giving your time to the Abatement Academy. And with that, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Justin Savoy.
And I'm Melissa Mariner.
And we're from Chesterfield Recovery Academy. Today, we're going to do an overview of our academy, introducing the authority and community members to the first recovery school in Virginia. And our slogan is one step, one day, one success at a time. Our journey started back in June of 2022, where the Virginia Assembly and Governor Glenn Youngkin signed the order for us to be established. We officially opened our doors on August the 2nd. We had the first day of school on September the 8th. And like mentioned earlier, I started on July 25th, so we have been rolling ever since. We had our first year anniversary, and we are excited to go into our second year. So for a quick glimpse, I'm going to play this video for you that was done about our school. It's about a 3-minute video.
I made a mistake. There are people here to help me get through this. Drug and alcohol use is not it's not just one thing.
And neither are schools like these. A handful of recovery schools first opened in the 1970s, but can now be found coast to coast, from Florida to Texas to California, with the most recent ones opening for the first time this year in Ohio and Virginia. At Chesterfield, there are 11 students with the ability to take on 40 Yeah. Lake Nicole. I was using substances. And Zakiah Kearney. I like that. Are two of the school's first students. I was scared at first, but it was really. I'm really glad. I would much rather be here than regular school. Much rather. I'm going to prep you. The students work on their traditional curriculum at their own pace. As soon as they get some more time for the prep work. With both online and in-person instructors ready to help. Vocabulary type things, okay. As well as therapists. So like we're going to be like doing math and therapists will be like during this. Like I was like, that's going to be weird. But it's definitely nice because when you're having a bad day, you don't really have to hold it in. You can kind of just talk about it with somebody that's going to be unbiased. And you can leave today.
Change your perspective on everything. When drug addiction comes into your front door of your house.
Doug Patton's 9th grade son enrolled in the Recovery Academy after he completed a treatment program.
It is the most welcoming thing you can do for your child if you have a program like this in your community, because it gives you hope that they're not going to get lost in the system. It feels like a lifeline.
You can't one that these students say they plan to hold on to. It's the people that are even why I like something. We're all like really close. We have like a little chosen family. One sharing a journey to recovery together. It's just a feeling.
That was a quick glance from our interview from last year. It was about October of last year. As a regional program, we service all of Region 1. So there's 15 districts in all. So that includes Chesterfield, City of Richmond, Petersburg, New Kent, and Prince George County. So we have a large catchment area. Our vision is Chesterfield Recovery Academy aims to be the vehicle of progressive change for the ushering in of an academic culture that holistically addresses the substance use and challenges of the youth in Region 1. There we go. Our mission statement is that we provide a supportive environment that makes academic success during recovery attainable as well as sustainable, emphasize post-secondary preparedness, and foster the development of a growth mindset towards pursuing healthy choices, positive relationships, and sustained sobriety. So with that, back in June, legislation, House Bill 928 was passed. That gave Chesterfield County the authority to create the program, a regional program without some of the conditions as a traditional regional program. With that, in year 1, we're granted $864,000, second year, $500,000, for a total of $1,364,000. For that, it does require that we submit a fall and spring support to the legislative body, and you'll receive that after the presentation. But it also ensures that no student or other county has to provide funding to cover the cost for them to attend the program. Also, this does not cover the grant money for our clinical team. For our budget, as you can see, we go by the amount of students. So on the top, you see it's for between 8 and 15 for last year, which is roughly about $927,000. That is also without the clinical team. So part of the instruction, transportation was the big one, and then the one-time construction cost, excuse me, because they had to re-outfit our building to sustain our program. One of the biggest things will be transportation, because it can change per year, especially as we increase our enrollment. As you can see, for 24 and 25, it goes from 175 to 660,000. Being that hitting that number means we will hit our max. So that's something we take in consideration, because it also helps to eliminate the barrier for some of our students, especially those who are coming from a further out district. And then also instruction supplies may seem to go down a little bit, only due to the fact that our kids perform their most of their schoolwork online. So it will be mainly just maintaining the electronic equipment in our classrooms, or especially boards that are ordered. Staffing, you have myself as the program coordinator, Ms. Melissa, senior clinician. She supervises 2 clinician 1s. We have 2 academic facilitators. one instructional aide. We have a part-time specialist. We're interviewing for, excuse me. Our office manager, and we have a full-time recovery course peer navigator. This is big for us because when we first started last year, our first day of school, we had 5 kids and 3 staff members, including myself. So this year we started with a full team and 13 kids. For our eligibility, you have to be a student in Region 1, one of the 15 districts, and a high school student. And internal motivation for recovery. We want to make sure the students that apply to the program actually want to be here instead of being forced here. So students cannot be court ordered into the program. They can be court involved, but not court ordered. And have received some type of form of prior substance abuse and mental health treatment. Students can attend us who are on long-term suspension or expelled from the district for certain reasons. However, the new policy is that we do contact their Office of Student Conduct to review that suspension or expulsion, and they are willing to lift it. They may attend our program. However, they'll be on a behavior contract, just stating the fact that they will respect the rules of the program. And if for some reason they are transitioned out of program for breaking the rules, that the original decision goes back into place. Our intake process is pretty simple. There's an interest form that's on our website that student can complete, or a parent or guardian. If they are not part of the family, we do ask that you do contact the family, let them fill out the form on their behalf. So a social worker, a school official, a case manager, they can all fill out the form. They're contacted by our office manager, and we set up for an intake interview. During that, Ms. Melissa or one of her clinical team members will do the clinical assessments. We will request their student files, and for those who are accepted, we do start to accept their school files and set up their transportation requirements. It takes about 3 to 5 days. However, we now implementing a cohort style that helps with student transition, making sure that classes start on time in our orientation process. And it does not require IEP or FAP funding to attend us. Currently, we have 13 students enrolled, 12 from Chesterfield and 1 from Henrico. During this year, we have 4 returning students and 9 are new to the program, grades 9 through 12. And last year, we had Chesterfield, Colonial Heights, and Henrico that were represented. For academic, all courses required for graduation are offered to our students. We make sure that any courses needed is provided. It's done on CCPS online, but they have an online teacher and a teacher in class who assist them. They're both licensed SPED teachers as well. And both of them have their content areas. One is English and history, one is math and science, to provide additional support. We do provide testing that's needed for graduation, such as the SOL testing, certification testing. I'm still a licensed business teacher and in IT, so I can provide the WISE financial literacy exam and the Virginia Workplace Readiness Test. We can now offer the SAT and PSAT on site, and our students are eligible to participate in the career and technical education program. And we currently have 1 student now who is in electrical program. So they attend us every other day. Just for additional information, students can participate in their homeschool activities and sports as long as they're in good standing with their homeschool and district. They may attend after-school activities and join sports teams. Their district keeps their ADM, which requires that they use for funding requirements, and then also information is used for school accreditation, such as attendance, SOL scores, credits, things like that. And then students will graduate with their homeschool if permitted, and their transcripts will say CCPS online. So after they leave us and they graduate, they will not have a trace on their background and attend the academy to protect their privacy. And program tenure is individualized. So students can be here for a semester, or they can be here till it's time for them to graduate, depending on them and their goals and how they feel safely returning back into the community. Next, we'll turn over to Ms. Melissa, who she'll talk about our clinical program.
So Chesterfield Mental Health and Support Services received funding via a grant from DBHDS to support the clinical and peer recovery staff. And we submit quarterly reports to DBHDS as part of that grant. We also have partnered with Recovery Corps to have an additional peer recovery staff join us, which has been exciting so far this year. I'm the senior clinician. We have Anna and Kara, who are our clinicians. Our Recovery Corps peer navigator is Nadia. We are interviewing next week for the part-time peer support specialist. And then Letty is our therapy dog who's here. We're a certified therapy animal team, and she's been working in schools for over 6 years now. So we provide substance use treatment to address and support recovery. This looks like group and individual supportive counseling, as well as case management and coordination with outside providers. Supportive counseling is generally 2 to 3 30-minute sessions a week with their assigned clinician. They're also able to access clinical supports as needed. So if something happens, if they come in with something that happened the night before, even though they have an assigned clinician, we all work together as a clinical staff, and students are able to develop relationships with everyone on the staff. We do daily groups with different types of approaches. So recovery groups, psychoeducation groups, mental health, activity-based discussion, processing. We have a beautiful campus here. We like to take them outside. So just providing variety for our students, so that different students who may respond to different things are able to get their needs met. And also part of our role is linking students to local recovery and mental health community resources. The majority of our students here at Chesterfield Recovery Academy represent an at-risk population. So they come to us with significant trauma histories. Most have co-occurring disorders, including depression, anxiety, PTSD, ADHD. 1/3 of our current students are involved in the foster care system. Over half of our students have parents or guardians with significant current or previous substance use disorders. Most of our students have previous psychiatric hospitalization and or residential stays. Many of our youth are court involved, and many arrive with apprehension, distrust, and or negative feelings about recovery and therapy. Because of past experiences and biases and so forth. Our clinical approach is to actively support multiple pathways to recovery. We want to work to help students understand the root causes of their substance use, as opposed to only treating the symptoms and the consequences of their substance use. We address co-occurring mental health disorders. We have a trauma-informed approach that utilizes techniques including the stages of change model, motivational interviewing, SMART recovery, cognitive behavioral therapy. We also integrate art therapy, music therapy, the peer support aspect, and mindfulness. Because it is a school-based therapy approach, we definitely recommend that our students have an outpatient counselor. And I think we've seen our students be most successful who are really able to process the trauma in a more appropriate setting than school. But of course, we are prepared to deal with things as they come up in this setting as well. Compared to the traditional school counselor model, our clinical team is able to provide more focused and dedicated counseling and case management services. So not being trained as school counselors, but being trained as therapists and clinical social workers provides us a different background. We have a true multidisciplinary approach, integrating the peer support with the evidence-based clinical practices. It's year-round support because we are 12-month employees, not the school calendar employees. And so we are able to provide that consistency of checking in and support even during the school breaks. For us to have this level of clinical staff in addition to the peer recovery is a unique model among the recovery high school community. And it's not one that another school in the country has. So in our first year, last year, we implemented the framework for the clinical supports and assessments to meet the needs and also benchmark with the Association of Recovery High Schools for best practices and future accreditation. We developed the substance use mental health assessments that we use for admission, intake, and treatment. We partnered with other recovery schools across the country, local peer resources, Virginia Recovery Corps, and Project Yoga Richmond to help inform the program and also provide additional support to the students. And we built a referral network of community support, including recovery and mental health resources. Over the course of the year, our students developed connection and engagement with the clinical staff, recovery process, and each other. Like Blake mentioned in that video, having a different perception of therapy coming in looks different with the therapy model of supportive counseling, and also having the therapist in the school and interacting outside of therapy sessions as well. Our students participated in over 170 hours of individual supportive therapy and over 80 hours of group therapy. We built positive therapeutic relationships with them. They actively participated throughout the year, even when they were on school breaks. So they were willing to still engage and communicate with us. We saw a significant decrease for our students in their psychiatric hospitalizations and residential treatment stays. And even though we have court-involved youth, none of our students got any additional criminal charges over the course of the 22-23 school year. So in terms of our goals for this year and forward, we are very excited to bring in the peer support this year, starting with Recovery Core and then the peer role that we're interviewing for. It would be ideal for us to ultimately move that from a part-time peer position to a full-time peer position. We'd like to strengthen our community-based engagement, outreach and education to the Region 1 mental health community. Personally, coming from a community-based mental health setting and then also the private day school setting, to have an opportunity like this where the barriers have been totally removed in terms of not needing outside funding and transportation, and the ease of admission. So I just think educating people, because there really isn't another program like this out there. We really want to participate in advocacy for a statewide focus on adolescent substance use treatment services and resources. So Virginia does not have as many resources as other states, and so sometimes outside of like outpatient therapy options for our students, we're kind of in a silo in terms of providing substance use treatment for them, but we don't have a lot of options if they needed to go to residential treatment or to detox. Our students struggle to find age-appropriate groups, recovery groups outside. Other states use the alternative peer group model, but just being able to help build the adolescent recovery community, I think, is really important for us as staff, and it's also something that's important to our students. We also want to be able to provide growth opportunities for our staff and competitive compensation. So our staff has been brave, the clinical staff, in accepting a role that is only guaranteed for 2 years, and have been so integral in building the treatment program from scratch and helping to make Recovery Academy as successful as it's been. So we'd like to provide them some growth opportunities as well. So right now there's the senior clinician role, 2 clinician roles, and 2 part-time peer roles funded. The grant also covers $5,000 in training, drug screens, and purchase of services. So for example, the Project Yoga partnership that we mentioned. Ideally, in terms of future goals, it would be to develop the clinicals, or to formalize the clinical supervisor role, provide a senior clinician opportunity for some of our staff that is definitely prepared to grow into that role, and to more fully round out the peer specialist role to be full-time. And that's it for my part of the presentation.
For our community aspect, we have partnerships in the community. First is our Chesterfield Education Foundation. They have been very supportive of us. They provide funding for our gas card reimbursements. So some parents, they choose to bring their child in because they'll make sure that they don't have any outside influences, but also just to make sure they get to school back and forth safely. These cards also help them with reassurance they don't have to take the additional funding out of their own household budget. So by having that have been very supportive. And they also provide therapeutic expenses such as the outside funding for like our music therapy, providing things for our clinicians for their groups and their offices as well. We also have To End the Stigma Foundation. They have provided funding as well for our Student Mindfulness Corner and also showcasing their emotional wheel they developed. They're also trying to work on student adolescent substance abuse in the region as well. And so the emotional wheel is something they're going around to different schools to use for training. We also have the JHW Foundation. They also support VCU Rants and Recovery. They donated items for us for flexible student seating, electronics for the classroom, which has been a great incentive for our students, especially if you've seen in the video, they have the full section in the classroom, but they also have additional flexible seating that you did not see in the video. VCU Rants and Recovery, like I said before, through JHW Foundation, we became partners. They'll provide support for our program and post-secondary options for our students. Boys to Men Mentoring, they provide a weekly all-inclusive therapy group. Because you hear Boys to Men, we do have girls that attend the group. They make sure they bring down multiple different members that are college students. Some are bachelor's and some are master's level social work students to provide the group, and they help support our clinical staff. And then we have Healing Sounds, who provide the weekly music therapy group. And over the course of the year, we received $28,500 in donations from different organizations and members of the community, which has been extremely helpful for us for getting us off the ground running, providing additional things that were not part of initial planning for our students, and it's making a more of a welcoming atmosphere for everyone. For our accomplishments last year, we had about 48 months of sobriety, which is huge for our students. Sometimes they're coming to us with no months of sobriety. This is the first time they're actually giving it a try, which is a huge accomplishment for them. We had over 60 credit hours earned towards graduation, and all of our students were moved on to the next grade level. We had no retentions. We had 4 graduates, 2 term and 2 summer. And one of the summer graduates actually graduated a year in advance, and they are now at Bright Point Community College. And also 5 of our students started their first part-time job, or they re-entered the workforce, which is also a great accomplishment for them because it means they have rebuilt the trust in their home and being allowed outside the home after school hours and also maintaining the money that they bring in. And this is pictures from our first completion ceremony. As you see, our students can still wear their cap and gown because they can still walk with their homeschool as well. We also have them wear it during our completion ceremony. For program and staff achievements, I was a part of the governor's Right Help Right Now plan, where I help advocate for additional recovery schools across the state. We were selected as part of the Virginia School Board Association School Showcase for Success. We also won one of the National Association County Achievement Award for 2023 for youth programs. And then we also won again for the Virginia Association of Counties for Best Large County Achievement Award. And we were featured on Scripps TV stations, which is a nationwide network. Last year, we completed a couple of events. As you know, Christmas break is a huge thing for our students. That is 2 weeks without their normal routine of coming in and seeing us. So we made sure that they were educated on safety planning, understanding safe reporter law, how to make healthy choices over the winter break. And then also we celebrated our graduates and all our students completing their first year. So for future goals, we would like to expand to about 25 students by the end of May 2024. And at least 25% of all of our region districts by 2024 as well. We'll start our accreditation process next year as well, and then just building our expansion in the community, making sure that all the counties in our region understand our program, our referral process, and how we can support them. So lessons learned. We went through a lot in our first year. So I always put leadership up because I started in July. Melissa didn't start until October. So there was a big disconnect in that gap. So I had to fill in for the therapeutic lead. So having the academic and therapeutic at the same time is huge when you want to plan, because we're trying to do this model, understanding and respecting both areas and having that balance is crucial. Your community, you always want to reach out for supportive members and organizations to help with the first year, especially opening the doors, because you want the participants and families to understand that you have a whole system around them and supporting them in their sobriety. They want to think outside the box, because we were not a part of the initial planning process. We were hired in. So there were certain things that weren't thought about academically and therapeutically, especially since we have a growing population and it always changes. So a lot of things come up still with SPED or IEP issues, therapeutic needs that are outside the traditional box. So always be thinking outside the box. Also, we are a part of the solution. So we always want to tell families we are not the end all be all. We're part of the community effort to address adolescent substance use. Yes, the Virginia is very limited in resources, but you always want to make sure the parents know that we are part of the solution. We do not fix the whole issue. You want to clarify your message, that they have a clear understanding of the program for the community, what we can and we cannot do, and how we support them. And then our policy changes. We have an ever-changing student population since we are set students year-round. And so we having kids come in from different counties with different issues. Your policies will need to adjust throughout the year to address those issues. Tips for success. Always utilize the Association of Recovery Schools accreditation process. It just helps with aligning with their policies, especially if you want to be accredited, but also they provide great technical assistance and also building a support network with starting your school. If you're looking at doing it, always partner with at least 2 regional counties. You want to have that commitment. It's a long-term commitment. So you want to make sure you have regional partners who want to address the issue together, especially if you're going to go to the state to request the funding or to have a program similar to ours. And then support for your local government and law enforcement. Understand that the program is here to help support the decrease of future youth in court involvement and to serve as a resource to assist with community reintegration. Support for your state education department. Our model is a little different than other schools. They have their seat time is lifted for their courses, which means our students do not stick to the traditional time seat time for their courses. They can move as quickly as they need to, which is something that has to be approved by the state. And they're also not locked in the traditional testing calendar. So most of the times when they are finished with their courses, they're allowed to take their SOLs a little sooner or later than the traditional peers would. You want to partner with your local university recovery programs, provide that linear path to post-secondary options for students who want to continue their education and knowing they'll have a supportive network when they go to those universities. And then build and promote your message. You want to cater your message towards your region because each region is a little bit different. So you want to make sure that message actually resonates with the residents that are there. And then expansion. Why we're necessary, we are the only ones here in Virginia. Our nearest neighbors are in Maryland and Frederick, Maryland, and then in North Carolina and Raleigh and Charlotte. So we are technically doing it on our own. It's great we can reach out to the other schools, but they're hours away. So having regional partners will be amazing for us to help grow for the state, to address state issues, because adolescent drug use is at an all-time high. Ease of access has been fueled. It is increasing so much that, social media is a huge contributing factor to it. And then also just increase the amount of adolescent substance abuse resources. As Ms. Lisa stated earlier, that Virginia has a limited amount of resources. So having additional schools will help address that issue. So funding is necessary because this is a large financial commitment for individual counties to handle. So external funding was something that's needed. It supports the regional programs to address or modify actions directed for each community. And then also this helps facilitate staff growth and retention. This job is very much different from traditional schools, not just academic staff, but therapeutic staff. For most clinicians, like Ms. Melissa, having your client here basically for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week is outside traditional role. So you want to make sure you have opportunities for that person to grow and also just retain them as well. And then this is a little slight plug back in for you guys. As part of your authority one of the things is to help provide support to address youth in the Commonwealth. One of the best things to do is to support creating more recovery schools, because as a state, we can address this together by having more regional partners and more schools to help with our youth in the state. And then I'm done for us. Do you have any questions?
Thank you, Justin and Melissa. Yes, please, everyone, add your questions to the chat and I'll ask them for you. This session on the Chesterfield Recovery Academy is the third of Principle 3 of investing in youth prevention. We have 5 more sessions in the Abatement Academy. Principle 4 is focusing on racial equality. Racial equity, and Principle 5, developing a fair and transparent process for deciding where to spend the funding. We'd love to have you the second and fourth Thursday for the rest of the year. Tony, do you have anything you want to add before the questions roll in?
No, again, I just want to compliment Justin and Melissa for this presentation. It's really a ton of information. I know there's a lot of interest in replicating what you've done in other regions around the state. I'll be shocked if there aren't questions, and so I know folks have the opportunity to type it into the chat, but please don't be shy. Maybe they just did too good of a job and answered all the questions in the presentation.
We do a lot of talking.
It's a lot to process.
And we have our information up there. We're always happy to, if questions come up afterwards, answer questions over email, over phone. We have visitors come out if a tour would be helpful. So we definitely are happy to share in any way that we can.
Here we go. Was there legislation that authorized this program?
Yes, it was House Bill 928 that was passed last June.
People on the call, if you're not on a phone and if you're on a computer screen and you can look in the chat, I texted the link to the bill, the summary of the bill that was passed in the 2020 session to allow Chesterfield to establish this program.
So can you tell me about the transportation? So is it like one bus that goes around Chesterfield County that picks up all the kids? How does that work?
So what transportation does is that they do more routes. So what they do is that they do the traditional routes for the regular schools, and then they send our bus out to pick up our kids. So most of our kids are grouped by area. So some are like 2 to 3 on a bus, some have their own bus themselves. And those who are in extended areas, they usually have a private car that is provided by the county.
Okay. So they drop them off at the hubs, like they go off to the specialty school, high
They
school?
actually go directly to the house to pick them up and take them home. Now, those who are going to the specialty center, like the other CT center, they'll come here first and then they'll take the bus over.
Okay. And that's what a great resource that that one student can also do tech center.
Mm-hmm.
And that's in building, is that correct?
And that's at the other building. So he'll come here every other day.
That's because he's doing the electrical program.
Right.
So they just have the program split up by building. The program that he happened to pick is over there, but there certainly are options if students were interested in one in this building as well.
Okay. Here's a question comes in. It says, does marijuana and alcohol use qualify students for admission?
Yes, marijuana and alcohol use qualify students for admission. So I would say we have a variety. So we certainly have students where marijuana is their primary drug of choice, especially with ease of access. We also have students who have fentanyl as their drug of choice or other opiates. So it depends. We want to be able to support the students that think that they need our help.
Okay, no more questions. That's sad. So much. But I do appreciate all the information that you guys have brought in today, taking us through your one step, one day, one success at a time. I wish you many more successes.
Yeah. Thank you so much. We appreciate the opportunity.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for your time.